Hello, good evening everybody. My name is Anne-Marie Wickham. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, positivity clinical hypnotherapist, and an empowerment and confidence coach. And this is my weekly show, the Ultimate Confidence Show, where I bring you amazing, interesting guests. My guest is already here and he's watching. I'm going to give him a wave. And we're just going to wait for some other people to join us because I know it's 8 o'clock, but not everybody's as prompt as you and I. Hello. Good evening, Alexa. We have some guests to join us. So you know what this show is about. It's a show where I invite you to interact, to engage, to ask questions, to comment if something resonates with you. Hopefully lots of things will resonate with you this evening because my guest is a wonderful learned person, so that's going to be really interesting. The more people we have that engage, the more fun it is, the more interesting it is for us all, and then we can just be the very best version of ourselves. So, by the way, I keep forgetting to ask you, why don't you share this recording with all of your friends? You can enlighten them and illuminate their lives as well. Wouldn't that be lovely? Thank you. So for the next 5 weeks, I've got 5 amazing guests. Each of them are men because this is the men's season. Last year we had all the girls, all the beautiful ladies, the opera singers, the DJs, the social media whiz queens. This season we have the males. We started off last week with Casey Diggins, the fitness entrepreneur who also happens to be my son. That's nothing to do with it. He was just amazing as he was. And this week I have a very, very, very special gift treat for you. My guest this evening, his name is Douglas Ponford. I like to call him Doug. I think he likes me to call him Doug too. And when I say to you, this is an amazing gentleman, I'm going to introduce him Why are all these lights so bright? I'm going to sit back a little bit. So I'm going to introduce him before he comes on because I know he's waiting at the wings. But let me just tell you a little bit about him before he actually comes on. Actually, no, should I introduce him so that you can see his lovely face and you can put a name to the face while I give him his wonderful introduction because it's more than deserved. Look at all these lovely people tuning in this evening. I think it's only deserving that I should bring him on. So bear with us. This is the first time that Doug has done a Facebook Live for some time. So we might have we might not. Anne-Marie, positive thinking. So I'm going to actually invite him. So Doug, I know you're watching, but when you see me invite you, then you can just accept my invitation and you can come on in and then I can give you your wonderful introduction, which is more than deserved. I want to tell everybody about you. Let me just find him. There he is. Oh, gosh. That's it. Come on in. Oh, gosh, what have we done here? That's it. Where have we gone? I've lost you, my love. There you are. Yeah, modern technology. So I have invited him, although it's not showing up that I've invited him. I hope I have. Let me just try it one more time. Bear with me, people. You know, modern technology and all that. It's not like the old days, just fanning the old smoke and making a message from the TP. I have sent it. I've just checked. I've sent it. So I'm going to look at this. He's here. He's such a revolution. He worked it out all by himself. So I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him a wonderful introduction. So coming here this evening with me is the lovely Doug. Here's something about Doug. Doug is in his prime. Absolutely in his. Hello, Doug.
Hello.
Good evening. I really want to give you this introduction because I really think it's well deserved and I want people to know exactly the caliber of person not only do I have on this show, but that actually I know because you make me look good, I have to say. So this is Doug. Doug is a truth seeker. He is a gentleman that's been studying life. We've all been studying life to a degree, but this is a gentleman who's been studying life for the last 47 years. He is a law of attraction counsellor, not just a title that he made up, but a title that he's actually studied for. I'm going to tell you where. He's been inspired by so many people. He's studied with so many people, the likes of those of you who are newly into personal development. He studied with the likes of Tony Robbins. I know everybody knows Tony Robbins. A few of you who are more interested might know about Joe Dispenza, who is an amazing not Scientologist in terms of religion, but actually studies science as well as the law of attraction. And Doug has actually studied with him as well. Some amazing people. Dr. Tony Quinn, for those of you that know. And Doug discovered his love of personal development. And we're going back a few years here. There might be some of you that don't even remember when we had cassettes in cars. Yes, we did. We had cassettes in cars. And that's where Doug first studied using cassettes, listening to the master of law of attraction, Earl Nightingale. And his interest was peaked when he first won a book as a sales prize, a sales promotional prize. And it was the Think and Grow Rich. Did I say that right? Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. So here we are, Doug. That is already a massive list of attributes to your name, and it just only skims the surface of what you're about. I know you personally. I think you're amazing. But tell everybody else, everything else that brought you basically to being here this evening and why you're here.
Hello, Anne-Marie. Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to be on here with you. That's a big question you've asked me there, isn't it?
It's huge, wasn't it? Actually, I'm going to bring that down a bit. That's not very good for my interviewing skills. I'm going to bring that right down. That's because I was so excited I got carried away. I'm going to be honest with you, because there's so many questions that I could ask you. I'm going to start with something a little bit smaller than that. Right. You were a salesperson when you first got that, when you first won that book. And you were telling me earlier about the book itself. You were looking for the secret. Tell us how long you were looking for the secret and what secret did you find within that book?
Okay, I will. Let me say hello to Stacey Ponford, who's watching on here, one of my family.
Oh, hello, Stacey.
Hello, Stacey. And Luca. Gosh, there's a lot of people on here that I know very well, Kieran. Anyway, when I was 17, I was driving around in my beaten up old car listening to cassette tapes of Dr. Dennis Waitley and Earl Nightingale and the like. And I learned to write my goals down on a piece of paper, put them in my pocket and read them 6 or 7 times a day and recite them. And then in my early 20s, I entered into a sales competition. And I won this competition against a lot of people who are a lot older than me. And I was awarded the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And this was back in the early 70s. Now, in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he says that on every page it contains the secret. Mm-hmm. And I read the book cover to cover and thought, I'm going to find the secret of success, and then I'm going to be a very successful person. But of course, I didn't find the secret. I looked everywhere for it. I looked on every page and I read the book backwards and forwards and I flipped through it, but I didn't find the secret. And I didn't find the secret for about 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And then it became obvious to me that I knew it anyway. And we all know it. And we all used it every day. And Think and Grow Rich is really about law of attraction. And we attract to us every day exactly what we're thinking about. And as we think and focus, so we create our reality. It's thoughts and feelings and beliefs that create our own reality. So having read this book and then looked for the secret and couldn't find it, I was on a journey of discovery for the rest of my life. And I traveled the whole of the world looking for the secret. And I went to different seminars and workshops, and I remember traveling across to Kansas in America twice in 1 month, just for a 2-day workshop. And I did the first 2 days, and they said, we're doing an advanced workshop next weekend, why don't you come back? So it's quite a long way to Kansas from the UK, and you can't get a direct, well, I didn't have a direct flight, so I took about 2 or 3 planes to get there. And I learned a lot of interesting things along the way. And then I decided that I needed some qualifications, not having had enough already. doing 40 years of study and reading books and studying Bruce Lipton and Eckhart Tolle, reading The Power of Now and the New Earth, and really being very interested in living in the moment. And then having attended a JUCO with Tony Quinn back in 2002, really finding something that I didn't know what it was, but I found something that woke me up.
Something that woke you up. Let me just
Yeah.
ask you, Doug, you very quickly skipped over because you're so used to doing this, but you said something very early on that you were used to writing your goals 6 or 7 times a day. Now, for those people who are just starting out, and there are a lot of people becoming more aware of the laws of attraction about setting goals, I want to ask you a 2-part question here. Why is it important for people to set goals? And the second part of the question is, what difference has that made to your life that has shown you that it was worth people investing their time into the reasons why they should write goals?
Okay. Hello, Peter Donahue and Linda Snashall. How are you? Well, it became apparent to me that through my learnings and doing my studies at the college where I achieved my certificate for Law of Attraction Counsellor, that it's all about programming. We are programmed from conception, not from birth, but from conception. And in the first 6 years of our lives, it's a period of download, and we download information, and we don't have a conscious making decision process during those early years. So all of the programs that we take on board are accepted as being factual, and those programs in later life become limiting beliefs. But the programs are installed within the subconscious mind at a subconscious level. So we live the rest of our lives with limiting beliefs that we picked up during our infant years before the age of 6, where we had no conscious making decision process whether to accept or reject the programs that we were given from day to day. So I discovered that the only way to change, to have some change in your life, to create real change, lasting change, is to reprogram the subconscious mind where the programs are installed. So the only way to reprogram the subconscious mind is have a conversation with yourself at a subconscious level. But that's not possible at a conscious level. You can't consciously talk to your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind doesn't really know the difference between something you're telling it which is true and something which you're making up.
Yeah.
So I also discovered that one way of having discussion with the subconscious mind is something that you do, which is hypnotherapy, which is great, but you need to either do self-hypnosis or come to somebody talented like yourself to have a few sessions. Another way would be to use your handwriting, because when you write something, something you consciously think of, but you write it, the writing comes from a subconscious level because you don't think about the actual act of writing. It's a subconscious thing that you do.
Right.
So by the act of writing, by using a handwriting, not typing on a computer or laptop, the act of writing creates a communication level at a subconscious level. So the act of writing down your goals, and I prefer to call them your intentions.
Okay. Why do you say that? Because you gave me, sorry to cut in there, but I think it's really important. You said intentions, because when I came to you and I was working with you and am working with you, you said if you call them goals, you explain there's a reason why, because everybody calls them goals. So why is the reason that you call them intentions? Because I think it's really important for people to understand the difference.
Okay. Good evening, Safet. Good. I'm glad to see you on here. Well, a goal, is a goal, isn't it? It's something that you aim for some time in the future. And a goal tends to be that in the future, I will attain this goal. And that tends to be how people approach that. So they write down a goal which is sometime in the future, a goal which they would like to attain, and they would also maybe write a number of things that they're prepared to give up or to do, actions that they will take along the way. An intention is something a little bit deeper than that. It's that
Right.
this is, I intend to do this, and when I'm intending to do something, I create it in the moment so that I've already accepted that it's been created.
Yes.
So when I write about it, I write in the present tense that I'm grateful for everything that I have in my life right now. And I give the reasons why I'm grateful for everything that I have in my life right now. And we can all be grateful for simple things like our family, our home, our career, our job, etc. And in the same context, if you write your intentions about those things that you wish to achieve, in the same context that you've already achieved them. So if your goal is, or your intention is, to own a Ferrari by the time you're 21, then you would write that I am grateful that I own a Ferrari, and that you will write about your experiences of owning this fabulous car, or whatever it is you want, a relationship or a goal, or a career. So you'd write about it in the present tense as though it already happened. And then by doing that, by using repetition, and they say 21 repetitions forms a habit or new patterns. Tony Robbins would always say, change your pattern. If things are not working for you, then change your patterns. In other words, change your habits. And the way that you would change your habits is by repetition. So you repeatedly do something over and over again. And if you want to change your reality, your thoughts, your feelings, you have to do that by an intention, writing your intention using your own handwriting, being grateful for everything that you have right now, and also being grateful for everything that you haven't got right now, but talking in the same context as though you already do have it right now. And the subconscious mind that you're communicating with will then accept that as factual. It won't accept it the first time you write it or say it because it sounds very strange. But repetition, 21 times or 21 days of repetition, will form a new habit, a new pattern. Once you form new habits, it becomes easier to do that task, to write about it, to be grateful for it, to be joyful that you have this, whatever it is you want in your life. And though it is, as though it is real, and you can imagine in your own mind's eye, visualizing and hearing and smelling and using the five senses to imagine that you actually have achieved your intention, or as many people would say, their goal. After 21 days, it becomes a habit, so therefore it becomes easier to do. And then it takes around about 90 days to form a program that will be installed at a subconscious level. And once you've installed the program at a subconscious level, then it's all over, because the mind and the body, the brain, starts to create chemical reactions that brings this goal and this intention closer and closer to you. And things happen in your life and you wonder why things are happening, but it's simply an intention that you've repeated so often that your thoughts and feelings and your focus becomes all encompassing, so that those things that you focus on mostly happen to you.
Yeah.
If you think that you can't afford something and that you run out of money at the end of every month, hey, you know what happens is that's exactly what happens, because the law of attraction brings to us each and every moment of every day exactly what we're focused on. Focus on the negatives, and then we end up with a negative life. Focus on the positives, and hey, that's what we end up with. If you look at your life right now, your life is exactly what you've focused your attention
What you've
on
created in the
and
past.
what you've created for yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to keep on going on, but I find this fascinating, this subject.
What I want you to think about is, there's going to be lots of people that you're really piquing their interest, Doug. They're thinking, wow, you know, this sounds like a man who knows what he's talking about. Well, clearly you do, because you live a life that totally reflects exactly what you're talking about. But for those who really can't grab the concept of what you're saying, because, you know, to do something for 21 days, which is so unfamiliar. I know myself, I've struggled with that. It can almost seem, it's so alien that you can feel a bit silly, you know. And really, I suppose I really want you to impress to people the value of doing it, because when you're first starting out, it's hard to see it. You know, it's a case of, if you can't, most people need to see it before they can believe it. And we know with the law of attraction, you have to believe it before you can see it. It's totally in reverse. And so what guidance would you give to people who are listening today thinking, you know, I've heard of this law of attraction before. What tips can you give them to start them off, to keep them on that road of being focused on achieving it? Do you know what I mean? Because it's so easy to fall off. 21 days doesn't seem like a long time, but it can feel like it.
The thing is that we all live with limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
We all have programs installed within us that limit our beliefs, that limit our lifestyle, limit what we're able to achieve in life. Some of us have more limiting beliefs than others, and it depends perhaps on the circumstances that you were brought up in. But, you know, for anybody, a young child before the age of 6, anything can happen that would create a limiting belief. For instance, you know, a young 3-year-old girl might try to reach something from a high shelf, and her father says, "You're not tall enough to reach that, so, you know, I'll do it for you, I'll reach it, but you're not going to reach that because you're just not tall enough." Well, that may be installed as a limiting belief, that that young girl is not big enough, not tall enough. So for the rest of her life, she may just accept that as a limiting belief, and that will hold her back. So I think most people can relate to that. There must be something in most people's lives that they can relate to that's holding them back. Either the lack of money, or the lack of resources, or the lack of relationship, or the lack of career, the lack of a business acumen, whatever it is that people lack, and we all of us have lack in our lives, whatever it is that we can focus on and think, yes, I get that. It's possible to change that. It's possible to rewrite that program, to write over that old program of a limiting belief and write a new program. Very quickly, I've created a process which enables you to take the life script which you was handed as a young child. When you was a young child, your parents would have handed you a life script, and the life script basically is there's your life script for the rest of your life. All you need to do is read from your life script, and it's all laid out in front of you. And most of us live from those life scripts. Well, I've created a process where you're able to tear up that old life script and create a brand new one for yourself, and brand new one that you design for yourself. So in other words, you live a designer life by designing the life you wish to lead and write a new script. So I enable people to get clear on what it is they want from life, what journeys they want to go on, what achievements they want to make. And then I help them to rewrite their life script by their own design, by their own words, and then start to live from that life script. Now, if a person can make that much difference in their lives by a very, very easy to follow process, and a lot of it is simply using your handwriting and changing some thoughts and beliefs, or focusing your thoughts and beliefs on what it is you want to achieve. Is it worth doing that for 21 days just to make it a habit? Nothing else. Just to make a habit, to change your patterns. To get out of the old patterns of keep on doing the same old things that you did yesterday and that you did the day before, and having the same old thoughts that you had yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. And hoping that something different might happen. What we need to do is just to have some different thoughts, different beliefs, make some very simple processes by setting your intention, setting some new intentions, and making some new habits, some new patterns. And I advise people that they should do that twice a day.
Yeah.
Once in the
Yeah.
morning when you wake up, and once in the evening before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it only takes 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes it might take 2 hours. Like if anybody's like you like to write a lot. So, you know, if you get into the flow of writing, you will just keep on writing, and everything will just flow out of you.
Yeah.
But for those who are starting off, it's simple to write a few simple intentions for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, 5 or 10 minutes in the evening. Do that for 21 days so it becomes a habit. After that, it becomes easier because you formed a new habit, a new pattern. And after 90 days, you will start to see, or before 90 days, you will start to see some changes happening in your life, almost like magic. Because there's a chemical reaction that the brain will send messages to the parts of the body that will create these chemical reactions. We have over 60 trillion cells in the body. Those 60 trillion cells renew themselves on a daily basis. Our eyes are only around 3 weeks old. And as our cells renew themselves, then we renew into a different being. Each cell has a skeletal structure and a memory. It has quite a lot of characters I can't remember, but each cell is a miniature each of us. And as those cells renew, then our reality renews by giving programs. The program doesn't just go at a level that is a program into the brain. It's a program at a subconscious level, which is so powerful that if done regularly, using repetition, using intentions, using your handwriting, believing, changing your thoughts, it brings about massive change. And I've seen so many people, that have seen these changes happen, and I'm a
You're a
living
living
proof.
example. You are. And so I think the thing that I think a lot of people are going to latch onto in what you've said there is it's not just a case of wishful thinking, because sometimes that's how it can come across, how it's portrayed. If you just wish and wish and wish it's going to happen, obviously we know there has to be action behind it as well, but it's not just wishful thinking, it's actually scientific. There is a science behind this. It's been proven. There's so many different, should we say, law of attraction philosophers that come from different schools of thought. There's Joe Dispenza that comes from a scientific background. You told me earlier there's a gentleman that comes from a biology background. There's Tony
Bruce
Robbins
Lipton.
Bruce Lipton,
Bruce
wasn't it?
Lipton,
Yeah,
yes.
he's very interesting. I've listened to. He
Biology
talks
of
a lot
belief.
about the fact that from the ages of 0 to 7, we actually walk around. We are in hypnosis between the ages of 0 to 7 because we are living in immersion. Everything that we hear, we are receiving and being programmed. We don't have any a choice about that between the ages of 0 and 7 as children. We're submerged in the environment that we're in. We're immersed in it, and we just soak it in. We sponge it up. We don't really get a choice to accept and reject. And only as we get older do we get those choices. But by then it's really too late, which is why you're saying you have to empower yourself.
Yes. It all comes down to the law of attraction. And the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is about the law of attraction. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about the mind, the programs. He uses meditation in order to reprogram, which is powerful. But he says where the mind goes, the energy follows.
Yeah.
And it's the energy, because without getting too deeply into the subject, we are a dual, or we live a dual life. We have a physical reality or physical realm, and then we also have a non-physical. And that's the part of us which is an energy, and the energy will never be destroyed. It can't be destroyed. But when we allow our true selves to open up, to become like beacons of opportunity that people see. So it's like taking off an overcoat. The problem is that we all of us try to get in our own ways. That is, that the physical tries to step in the way, whereas our true life source knows how to live life from the source. I'll try not to get too deeply into this stuff,
but can I ask you, Doug? You know, I think you've been very fortunate in your life. We've shared some time together. You told me some stories that you're through your own focusing on what you want, you've been able to navigate a way through. And I know there's so many people that are watching that are like, you know, I really want to make a change for myself, but it's not a simple process. We have to agree to that, because it's not just about you. It's where you place yourself. It's where you position yourself, and there are sacrifices that you have to make along the way. Would you agree with that, Doug? In terms of the people around you, as you're shifting, you know, as you're creating this new person, this person of design, as you said, this person that you have designed. Obviously, you're not going to maybe always, I don't know, you tell me, as you've redesigned and recreated your life, have you been able to keep the same friends? Are there people that you've had to shed to be able to?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, and now this you have to be totally committed to the process, right?
Well, it's about consciousness, really. And when you become more conscious, when you open up to the opportunities that exist all around us, when you understand, it's called self-realization. And when you become realized, and when you connect to what is out there, your higher self, you become more conscious. Some people, it's difficult to be around some people, because it's about vibrational frequency, and there's certain types of people that vibrate at a very low frequency, and some people will vibrate at a higher frequency, and it doesn't serve you if you're open to that higher frequency. It doesn't serve you to be around those people who vibrate at a lower frequency.
So you have to calibrate yourself, don't you? You have to calibrate yourself upwards. Do you know, I'm just going to interrupt you 1 second, because I've just remembered the story of Viv Nicholson. Do you remember the pools winner? She was the very first pool winner. You're talking about vibrational frequency, and you have to, and again, it brings into what you've been saying about, you know, really focusing on who do I want to be, and actually calibrating your mindset up there, which clearly this lady won the very first pools winner, all of that money, but she wasn't on that vibrational frequency of what she'd won. And so she lost it all within a year, didn't she? She actually lost all of it, because
because people will always gravitate back to their programs. It's all about the programs. And it's easy to gravitate back to your program if you've not installed a new program that will overwrite the old program.
Absolutely.
That's why you need to use repetition for at least 21 days just to form a new pattern or a new habit, and stick with it for 90 days, because it takes 90 days to form new programs. And if you have these limiting beliefs that you're aware of, then you have to stick with doing something that changes those patterns. And just referring back to these vibrational frequencies that, you know, we're all energy beings and we all vibrate. For me, I and probably for most of us that are vibrating at a certain frequency, will know instinctively when we're around the right people or when we're around the wrong people, because those people that vibrate at low levels, they actually do make you feel quite ill. Just a feeling. It's just a feeling of, I don't quite feel right about this person or around this person. And everybody will relate to that. When you meet somebody, you feel
uncomfortable.
They're not quite right. Well, that's intuition. That's just listening to what your body's telling you, listening to what your energy is telling you. So, sorry, that was my wife just coming in.
Hello, Jan.
She's gone now. So the important thing here really is to try to clarify where we're going with this, because there are so many people calling themselves personal development coaches and gurus, etc., whatever they want to call themselves, that will talk a good story, but when you finish listening, you come away feeling that there's something missing, because they never actually gave you anything. They never actually gave you anything that you could take away and use.
Right.
Most of these personal development coaches would just deliver some information to hook you in order to sell you something further down the line.
Yep, I hear that.
So I want to deliver something to everybody that's on here tonight, which is we get exactly what we think of mostly. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It says so in the Bible. If you read the Bible, there's so much truth in there.
Yeah.
The kingdom of God lies within. In other words, we all have God living within us. We are all God that resides within us. We create our own reality.
We do.
We create our own reality by the thoughts and the feelings that we hold on to. The thoughts and the feelings that we have every single day, the focus that we put on a subject or a person or an activity is what we end up with.
Yep.
So if you're finding in your life that things are not quite working out for you in certain areas, and for most people, there's always one or two areas that things aren't quite working out. If things aren't working out in those areas and you can identify them, write them down, and explain these areas that they're not working out, and then change your thoughts and feelings about the areas. And instead of having thoughts and feelings of lack, which is most people are coming from lack, because that's what we were programmed with.
Actually, yeah.
Change the lack for abundance. For instance, if you're running out of money at the end of the month, say the words, money flows to me easily. I have plenty of money at the end of the month. I'm easily able to pay all of my bills. Now, it sounds very false and easy for me to say, easy for anybody to say, but the fact is, if you do that and you write it that you are grateful that you have abundance in your life, that you are abundant in your relationships, that you are abundant in your financial life, that you are abundantly healthy, whatever the area that you are struggling with. And you do that for 21 days and be grateful that you're abundant in those areas, and be grateful for everything that you have in your life right now, being grateful for your family, for your home, for your career, etc. Those things will just get mixed up together. And your subconscious mind won't know the difference between the things that you're telling it, which are true, your family, your home, and those things that you are telling it, which are not true, that you're abundantly financially wealthy, you're abundant in your relationships, you're abundant in your health. Those things will start to form new patterns, new habits, new patterns will start to form new programs. They will overwrite the old programs, and you will wonder what happened, that things start to change already. Very quickly, things will start to change. And the more you focus and the more you think about the changes that you wish to see in your life, the more focus, the more thoughts you put into that, the more you write about it, the quicker it will happen. And that is not, it's not difficult.
No, well,
It's
as
quite
you said
simple
earlier,
stuff.
how hard is it to focus your mind for 21 days to achieve a lifetime of happiness, or the beginnings of a lifetime of happiness? Because we only have to see it come to whatever it is we're focused on. We only have to see it come to fruition once and think, wow, I did it. And it's just that confirmation is enough to keep you going. But you just need that first confirmation, don't you? It's the first one that's the most important, because then you've seen the effectiveness of what you're doing. So it really is only a case of the first 21 days, because after that you'll be happy to be focusing for 21 days and 21 days, because you'll know what you're getting, right?
I've seen you change since we've known each other, which is not
No,
that long, and
I
I've just seen you just change massively,
know,
just because you change a few thoughts
I know.
and you focus on it. Elaine, it's good to see Elaine on here. I haven't seen that name for a long time.
They've
Hello,
all come
Elaine.
out for you this
Um,
evening.
God Almighty. You know, when you start to change these thoughts and patterns in your life, then the next stage is to focus on the depth in which you can do what you're doing.
Mm.
And that comes from reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and listening to and reading the Practicing the Power of Now, and also his new book, The New Earth. Eckhart Tolle he's one of the world leaders, spiritual leaders online, alongside Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh. And Eckhart Tolle is the wonder, and everybody should read his book, The Power of Now, because it focuses your mind on the fact that
Angie, I bought you that for Christmas last year. Have you actually opened it yet? Thank you. The guru just told you, so come on.
it's a case of that, everything happens in the present moment, and nothing happens outside of the present moment.
Absolutely.
Everything that happened yesterday, the day before is history, because it's gone and it will never come back. And the future isn't yet here. The only time that we live is in this present moment. And if you think about it, if you focus just for the moment on this conversation that we're having, this conversation this is it. This is your entire life here in this moment. Just you and me looking at each other, having a conversation. Nothing else exists. Nothing exists outside of this moment. And when you can focus all of your attention on this present moment, and then you start to focus your intentions on this present moment, and completely focus your mind on the present moment, focus your intentions on the present moment, it comes down to how deeply can you do what you're doing in this moment.
Yeah, yeah.
The level of your success is in the degree to which you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
The,
Do you know what? And sometimes, because you've been in this a long time, Doug, and we all are guilty when we work in a profession, we speak that maybe not everybody's aware of, or can't quite decipher, because it's not their natural state of speaking. But how I would understand that, and anybody who's watching who's not really familiar with any of this, is when you're in that moment, and most times people would recognize it actually when they're watching television. When you're so engrossed in that moment, you're living, you're practically there, aren't you? You're on set sometimes, particularly if it's a good film. That's the reason why we can cry when we watch films, or we can get upset, or we can start shouting at the telly, because you're actually in that moment. You could be there. And that is what you want to be seeking, not just in watching television, but you want to be seeking that in your everyday life. You want to be so engrossed in the moment that time stands still. You know that feeling of when you're watching something, but anything else just goes fuzzy in the distance, because you're so engrossed in that moment of now. It's cultivating that moment of now that will give you what you want, but being able to focus that thought of what you want in the future here in the now. Does that sound about right, Doug?
yes. An interesting story. When I was reading The Power of Now, it was 2002, and I was on my way to Palm Springs for a 2-week seminar.
Palm Springs, love it.
Well, it was a £12,000 seminar.
Look at that.
And it was a ridiculous amount of money.
I know. I remember the story.
Yeah, somehow I manifested the money. It came from nowhere. I know that sounds stupid, but it's true. So I was reading The Power of Now, and I was finishing the book on the plane to Palm Springs to attend this seminar. And when I got into the seminar, I realized that something had opened up in me when I attended this seminar, and I remember having a conversation with one of the attendees, and we all become very good friends. There was about 65 of us there, and I remember having a conversation with one of the attendees. There were 65 people in the room, and there was lots of noise going on. And I was talking to him, and I said, "Do you realise something? It's only you and me here." Because I was completely and utterly in the flow, in the present moment, that nothing else existed outside of me,
Yeah.
other than having a conversation with this other person in the room. And all of the
Yeah.
noise and the what was going on around me, it just was phased out.
Plays into the background, yeah.
And it's something that you can practice. If you practice by just picking up an object, a simple object, maybe just a glass of water, and focus on an object, whatever an object is, and how far can you find yourself and that object as one, and focus all your attention on that object, looking at the object, describing it to yourself, losing yourself in it, and it becomes a meditation. And then I learned from 2002, after I attended this program and read this book, I learned to meditate what I would call a living meditation. So meditation normally is that you would, cross your legs or lay down or sit up and listen to some fuzzy music and perhaps somebody talking to you, and just close your eyes and wander off somewhere and listen to your breath. But when you can start to live a meditation so that you focus all of your attention on the present moment, so that everything that you do is focused on where you are and what you're doing, being completely focused in on the act of doing what you're doing. And that's why I say the level of your success is measured by the depth to which you can do.
Absolutely.
And when you focus on the doing of whatever it is you're focused on doing, when you're reading a book, you read the book and do nothing else. When you're writing about your intentions, then write about your intentions and focus all your attention on that. And how deeply can you go into that?
And it does become easier. I have to say, even I've noticed when I'm doing my writing, it used to be I had to be in a certain place in a certain state, and then if anybody interrupted me, that was it, I couldn't go back to it. But now I can really just tune out really very easily. Doug, one thing I would say about your lovely voice is I think you missed a trick with your hypnotherapy, because it's so just really lovely to listen to your voice. Other people are going to be so interested. Their interest is going to be piqued. They're going to be thinking, how can I get more involved with this? This sounds like a journey that I want to take, because so many people are becoming more aware that there's more. If they wanted to start a journey with you, Doug, how would they be able to do that?
Well, for years I've been writing programs, books, online programs, ebooks, and I haven't published anything yet. And I've got it all written in my files. I've always preferred to speak with people on a one-to-one basis, and this is a real joy for me to be able to speak to you on a one-to-one basis and have all these lovely people listening in, and it's joyful because you're doing it, and I'm just sitting back and doing the talking.
We are co-creating.
We are co-creating. And it's good to see Robert really very active on here as well.
Yeah, he is.
So I do love to sit with somebody, because I love to see the difference that it makes in people's lives.
Yeah. And
I can see that when I work with somebody on a one-to-one basis. When I work with people in a group situation, which I have done, it does lose quite a lot, and it is sometimes difficult to get people to focus their attention, because, as I've said before, it is about focusing the attention and thoughts and feelings and we use the five senses very often to bring people into awareness and to lift their consciousness. So I like to work with people on a one-to-one basis, and when my writings are finished, which I'm hoping will be this year, and I'm
Excellent.
launching my new website this year. The old one has been taken down, which
Brilliant.
is Doug at dougponsford.com.
Which we're going
I've
to put in
taken that
the
down.
thread afterwards. Is that okay?
Cool.
Yeah, people can
Lovely.
contact you via there, and we can take it from there. That's
So
good.
that website is taken down while it's being redesigned and rebuilt, because I
Right.
have some new content to go on there. So you
Brilliant.
can't get onto Doug at dougponsford.com, but you can get onto Doug at dougponsford, Doug at dougponsford.com, which
But
is
we're
my
going to
email address.
put it in the thread, and everyone can pick it up from
Okay.
there. That would be a
And
good thing.
I would just love to speak with people on a one-to-one basis,
Yeah.
whether that turns into some more time together, or whether it's just a single one-off conversation. I'm always open to speaking with new people. Robert Burridge, my God, hello, Robert. I haven't seen you for a long time.
It's old. It's the
Oh,
old school network. That's
geez,
going down memory
guy.
lane.
Gosh, I've not been on Facebook for at
Isn't this
least 2 years,
lovely though?
and
I think that's really lovely that everyone's looking out for
yes,
something. It's really good. Maybe a few new old connections made new again this evening, Doug. I don't know.
well,
Hello,
I must
everybody,
I
new
must I
friends.
must mention Bob Burridge invited me to his wedding, which was fantastic, and he put me up in the hotel, and we had lovely food and live music and lovely breakfast and fireworks, and wow, what an event that was. So great man.
So we'll never forget his wedding night. I'm almost jealous. I wanted to come anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a few
So
quick
yes, I'd
fire
love to
questions
speak to.
now.
Sorry.
You're going to put your details in the thing. You're going to put your details
Yeah.
down in the thread, because I know lots of people will. It's not just now. Hello to everybody that's on repeat replay. It won't just be now that they're watching. They'll come back. What usually happens is people then over the weeks you'll see the
Right.
viewers go up. So we'll make sure that we'll put your details there. And we know that later in the year you're really looking to relaunch yourself, and it's going to be a everything's going to be renewed, and you're going to be ready to be accepting new clients, and that's going to be fantastic. And hope I'll be around watching as well, so that hopefully there'll be something for
Yes.
me and you, who knows.
So initially, just I like to work with people on a one-to-one
Yeah,
basis, and then gradually we'll start to bring in some new products and programs that I can deliver in different ways. But I'll be happy to hear from people, even if it's just a hello
yeah,
or a conversation by email or WhatsApp or whatever.
yeah, yeah. There's plenty of ways to get in touch with Doug. He's always around. He never goes. Now I know you've seen
Hello, Sarah.
Doug at Doug the wise sage. Now I want you to see the relaxed side of Doug. So I'm going to ask him a few questions. I like this bit.
Oh.
Look at Doug. Oh no, they're not silly ones really. Few of them are. Right. This is a big one that I want to ask you, because since I've known you, everything you touch turns to gold. You have a really, really good resilience for getting things done and sticking with things. But tell me about a time when you failed.
Mm.
And what did
I
you
don't
learn
like
from
to
it?
think I've failed ever. It's just challenges, isn't it? Life throws
Yeah.
challenges at you. When I was in my mid-20s, I started a retail business. I started just with a barrow within a shopping centre, and then I went to two barrows in two shopping centres,
Right.
and then I went to a shop in a shopping centre, and then I ended up with six shops and a warehouse, and travelling the world in my mid-20s and
Wow.
30s, buying stock for my empire
Wow.
from Southeast Asia. I did just about all of Southeast Asia, buying container loads, 40-foot container loads of
Wow.
stock, and planning sort of 6 to 12 months ahead, because obviously it takes time to manufacture goods and ship them. And I did that for 15 years. And I walked away from that business virtually with nothing.
Wow.
and lots of things went on during that period. Um, and then I started all over again in
Once you've
my
done it once,
30s.
Doug, once you've done it once, it's the same process, isn't it? You just apply it
It
in a
is.
different way. And so really you've always been a winner. You know, you've always known how to do, you've always known how to reinvent yourself. So it's never phased you. But I wonder, when you were sort of like 7 or 8, were you the same person? Did you have this knowledge that I'm always going to be able to be successful? Was that the kind of kid you were when you were young?
Well, I don't know if it was that young, but I do know that in my sort of years of teenage years,
Mm.
14, 15, 16, I knew I was different from the rest of the guys
Wow.
and my brothers because I didn't go to the pub and
Mm.
hang out with guys and do the things that, or everybody used to sort of just go to the pub and drink beer.
Yeah.
And I didn't like beer. So I knew I was a bit different then. And I knew at the age of 16, 17 that I was destined to do something. And funnily enough, I met a gypsy in the street that was selling lavender.
Yeah.
And she asked me for some money, which I gave her. And she gave me the lavender. She said, "You're going to be a businessman and you're going to be very successful." And I took that as being gospel.
Yeah.
And that was, I must have been only
Self-fulfilling
16 or
prophecy, isn't
17.
it?
Yeah.
But it's
But
funny you
I
should say
knew,
that. I think most people that seek a different way
mm,
always have had the feeling at some point that they were different. And I know when I was younger, I felt very different. I didn't think it was a good thing. I felt quite alone and quite alienated because of the thoughts that I had, that I wasn't just the same as everybody else. You know, I just wanted more, and sometimes I felt ungrateful for what I had, and just didn't align with everybody else. And I think that's something, if anybody's watching feeling that I just got this niggle that there's more for me, this is not what I'm destined for, there is more in me. It doesn't matter what age you are, because you might have repressed it for a long time, but it might still be there. I would say to you that take some of the advice that you've listened to this evening and apply it to your own life, because you are given those thoughts for a reason. That is your intuition, your inner self, your higher self talking to you, knocking on the door of your conscience saying, come on, we want more. And there is a reason why you are here this evening and you've been listening for so long, because we are only echoing to you what's already in your mind. So that's some food for thought there. Find another question for Doug.
um,
Oh, carry
just
on.
talking about that. I found, because I was mentoring a young guy the other day. He's 17 and he's got a lot of ambition, and he reminds me of myself when I was his age, because he has a burning desire, but he doesn't know
What it is.
what it is that he's going
Mm,
to do. He can't
mm,
see it. He's not
mm,
clear on what it is. And
mm.
that's, I think, a big issue for a lot of
Yeah.
people, is that they don't have clarity.
Yes.
It's to get clear on what it is you want to achieve in life. And it's okay to have these changing your thoughts and feelings, but if you don't know what to change them to or how to change them, it can be quite challenging. Um, so a friend of mine, Jamie Smart, wrote a book called Clarity, and that's a brilliant book for anybody to read. Jamie Smart, Clarity. And again, I've attended his workshops, and another person that I've learned quite a lot from.
Mm. There's
So
so many good books out there now, though, isn't there? Not like when we were younger, you know, it was just, you know, Mills and Boon and all that sort of stuff. There's so many different routes that you can take to success that are
yeah,
really in line with your thinking. I mean, I love Lisa Nichols. Oh, there's so many I love. I love Vision. I love Mind Valley. And what I've noticed about personal development is that there's personal development at different levels as well. So when you start, like when I first started my journey, I was very much into Les Brown. He spoke my language. I really resonated with him. It was a fight. We were going to be successful. And then you kind of work your way up a little bit, and you have more vision and overview, and you think, it's not resonating with me anymore. Then I moved up to Tony Robbins, and you keep moving because your life keeps changing. What you notice is the
yes,
more and more you invest in your life, the more it does change, the richer it becomes. And it's your duty to keep seeking out those people that are echoing the message that you need to hear. You know, it's not just with the laws of attraction, or even life coaching. It's not a one size and that's it. It's going to do it for the rest of your life. Oh, I did a 12-week program. That was great. And now I've got my whole future. It's just not like that. It's a continuum, isn't it? I think that's where people get stuck. They think it's a one-time investment.
Yes. I mean, I found that it is often necessary to seek out somebody that can help you to achieve the clarity, to sort of it's to disperse the clouds that sometimes foggies your sight, to enable you to get a little bit clearer on what it is you want to achieve from life, what changes you want to see in your life. And once you become clear on that, then it's just a case of using the process in order to use the repetition of affirmations and writing your intentions. But a lot of people do struggle with getting clear on exactly what it is they want. That's why it's important to seek out somebody that can help you with that.
Yeah, that's why I think that life coaching should be standard as part of the curriculum, because, you know, young minds are not developed enough to have that kind of, that level of thinking. It is really a process, and you have to be taught that. It's not something that comes naturally, which is why so many people are without focus and just going through the motion, letting life happen to them instead of creating a life that they want. So I'm going to ask you, I've got some life goals for the next year ahead. I don't know if you've been thinking about these, Doug, but they are in all the different areas. And I'd just like you to give me a sentence on how you're focusing on for the next year for your personal development.
Was that a question?
Yeah, it was a question, because, you know, when I did my planning last year for the next year, I thought on all the different areas. What do I want for myself personally? What do I want for myself spiritually? So that's what I'm asking you. Have you thought about those? Do you want to share them with us? You might want to say no comment, Anne-Marie.
Well, look, I've got to the stage in my life now where I've run various businesses and had some success and some challenges in my life. And I'm now in the stage of life where not that many things are important to me anymore. My home is very important to me, my garden, where I spend most of my time.
Beautiful.
And traveling. And I'm traveling the world at the moment I'm selling off my assets that I've built up over the years, selling off assets and spending the money, basically.
Good for you. And that's certainly a good goal for the year. I love that goal.
Well, whatever time I have left, I just want to enjoy and see the world. I've seen most of the world already, and I want to see it again and go back to the places that I didn't see.
What's your next stop?
Some of the Cuba next week.
Wow.
Havana and Veradero.
Wow, I hope you get in some dancing. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah. I hope that you're going to be whirling Jan around the dance floor in Havana.
Yeah, so this year is, Cuba, a cruise up the Douro, which is in Portugal, for 10 days on a long boat, which is only about 100 passengers. And then Costa Rica later in the year, and a few other smaller stops. Anyway, that
sounds amazing.
Talking about that.
Yeah.
But because I'm in my prime of my life,
you are.
I'm in the years of contribution. Having done all the years of growth, acquisition, etc., I'm in the years of contribution.
Beautiful.
And that's exactly what my intention is to contribute as much as I can by helping as many people as I can to achieve their potential, to bring out their full potential and help them achieve their lifetime dreams and ambitions, and to help them become more clear on their intentions. And that is something that I want to create, and I see this here this evening as being the first step into introducing that idea to the world, and bringing about the new website and my writings, and
And I will
hopefully,
share those details as and when that comes live. And, you know, I was going to ask you the question, but I think you really did sum it up most eloquently and really nicely there. I was going to ask you, what is the legacy that you want to leave? But I think you've just shared that with us in what you were saying about how you want to contribute and give people have the opportunity to live the life that you've led. And I think that's absolutely marvellous. And I'm sure there'll be many people that will be watching and being absolutely inspired by what you said this evening. And also really recognising that it doesn't have to be a dream. They can really be your reality if you are prepared to focus on you and invest in you in the same way as you would your job, your car, your dog, your bus pass. The focus and purpose that you put into getting those things and maintaining those things, if you even put half of that into investing in yourself, you could be the next guru. You could be the next Doug.
yes, I think people spend more time on here than they do on their own dreams and ambitions.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I mean, it's such a difficult one, social media, because it's fantastic that we are able to be here inspiring whoever's watching. I think that's just fantastic. You know, when I was growing up, if I could have watched things like this for free, living in where I was, thinking that there was no way out, and then I listened to someone like you and thought, wow, he was able to do that and he's just like me. I think it's amazing. Unfortunately, people tend to lose the balance and get a little bit too immersed in the reality world or the virtual reality world, as opposed to taking what they need and getting out there and doing it. That's the bit that they have trouble disciplining themselves. And we all know the reasons why it's addictive. It releases the same hormones in you as what it does is if you were any other kind of addiction. You know, that's another whole story. But there are the positives. You just need to be able to manage yourself well enough to be able to take the good. Just take the good, full stop, really.
Yeah, I think that's why I like the connection of one-to-one when working with people, is because it's you know, so many people are just focused on, you know, social media and lose that contact,
human connection,
the physical contact, the human connection. Yeah,
and that's when it's so difficult to understand how to practice living a life of gratitude, because if you don't have that human connection, if you never see that look of thank you in somebody's eyes and know what that feels like, how it just, you know, warms your heart and spreads everywhere all over you to see what you've given somebody, then you can never practice a life of gratitude. So I think it is really important that people understand that human connection is so important, isn't it?
yes. Thank you, Bob. That's very nice of you to say so.
How are you seeing all these people? I can't get up.
I don't know how I'm seeing them.
Oh, you're very clever. All right.
Yeah.
Is there any questions that you're seeing here, Doug, that you would like to answer? There were so many. Everyone's so interested in you. It's fantastic.
No, I'm only seeing a few last questions here.
Well, it would be very kind of you if you could just go back, and if anyone's got any questions for you, because that's what usually people do. They make statements or they ask you questions. If you could, when you go back to put on your contact details for how people can contact you to have that one-to-one conversation, if you could respond to their questions as well, which I know you will, that'd be really, really kind.
Neil Reed says that somebody needs to hold up a mirror to the ego so you can see what you're not. It's true, actually, Neil, but you need to hold the mirror up yourself. Look in the mirror. What's staring back at you is what you see through your eyes is your soul. So if there's something going wrong in your life, or if there's something that is not working for you, you do need to look in the mirror. He's absolutely right.
That is actually, you know, that I've just written. I'm going on the radio tomorrow to talk about the 3 programs that I've just written. And the first program that I deliver is, most of that is mirror work. And you would be amazed at how difficult people find the first stage of developing yourself is to accept yourself and love yourself. And that has been really some of the most emotional work that I've done. And everything that I do in my programs, I don't know about you, Doug, but I always live through my programs first, because you can't preach what you don't know. And for me as well, it was one of the most difficult stages, is actually looking in the mirror and accepting and not looking away and saying the words that you need to say, saying the words that maybe you haven't ever heard before, that you should have heard. And so, yeah, I do believe that mirror work is, I don't know if that's the way that you meant it in terms of the ego, but it is.
Yes. Well, what you see in others is a reflection of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what you seek in others is a reflection of yourself. So it's very important to understand that, you know, when you connect with somebody and you wonder what that connection is, it is probably just a reflection of your own self.
Well, thank you very much, because I've got fantastic people around me. So I'm very, very blessed. And, you know, I actually met a lady a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to see her on Thursday. And she gave me something from her heart. It was a verbal she gave me. And I was so grateful. And I hugged her and I said, oh, thank you so much. That was so lovely. She said, everything you see is all that you are. And I just thought that was so lovely, because she was only a young girl, actually. Everything you see is all that you are. And I was like, oh, stop it. I get very emotional about things like that, because the more you grow and understand yourself, the more you recognise how fortunate you are in just the little things, not really the little things, isn't it?
Yes, Anne-Marie. Musoz is just coming from Turkey.
Oh, hello there.
Hey, my friend in Turkey. Hey, I
Oh,
haven't seen him
wow.
for, wow.
We have had
What a
some
great
very
guy.
lovely people joining this evening. I'm ever so grateful. I'm so glad that you've enjoyed what we've been talking about, that it's, you know, possibly made a difference for you, made you be able to see things in a different way, has inspired you to do more, be more, has given you aspirations to go about it in a different way. That's what we're here for. And I'm so glad that, Doug, that you've joined me, because you really have been a beacon of light for everybody this evening, especially me. So I'm very, very grateful. Well, we've been on for, and I know you weren't expecting this, because you were like, oh, it's not going to be that long. You've been on for 1 hour and 15 minutes. I bet you weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I thought we'd run out of things to say in about 25 minutes.
You're welcome, Neil. It's been great having you with us. Thank you so much. It's only left for me to say, you know, my name is Anne-Marie, and this is also Doug. I've been talking with Doug. And, you know, thank you all for your comments and your interaction. It just makes it so much more enjoyable for us to know that we're telling you something that's empowering you in some way. So I love that. Please remember to share this recording with anybody that you think could really benefit from it too. You would be surprised how you can have a conversation with somebody, or you can tell them somebody something quite subliminally just by sharing something like this that will empower them to go and do something different. I would ask you, Doug, before I say, you know, until you value yourself, you won't value your own time. And until you value your own time, you won't value anything. So you all know this. I'm going to ask Doug to leave something very inspirational with us this evening. Can you leave us an inspirational thought?
You are your thoughts. And as you think and believe, so you are, so you become. If you read the Bible, it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And as you think and believe, so you will become. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Because your thoughts become you.
Absolutely. What comes out of here goes straight into here. So be careful what comes out, because you are conditioning yourself. And I know that's a conversation that me and Doug have quite often. Watch my words, watch my words, watch my words. It's been lovely. I've had such a wonderful time with you all. Thank you so much. I'm on the radio tomorrow morning on Phoenix FM. It's a local Brentwood radio station. And I'm going to be talking about my programs, the ripple effect, the small things you do create ripples outwards. And it's all about keeping you in your flow. All the things that we've talked about this evening. Just Robert saying, as a man thinketh, a very small book, but very powerful. There we
Who
are.
wrote the book?
Isn't that the one that I've got with Viktor Frankl?
No,
that's a Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah, sorry.
Robert
got that
Booker.
bit.
Do you know who wrote the book?
I think
It was.
Give me a clue.
I've got it on the shelf up here
no,
behind me.
I can't see it. Give me a clue. What's his first name?
I can't remember.
Come on, Robert. I love Robert. Doug, you would love Robert, because Robert actually tunes in every week. He always really contributes well. And he is a...
James Allen, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
See,
Robert.
he is
James
a
Allen.
mountain of information. He really does study
Yeah.
a lot, and he really does. We love you, Robert. You are super, super fun to have. Thank you so much. And you've always got such good things to contribute. So I'll see you tomorrow. Please look up. In fact, I'll post it after this. Phoenix 90 something .9. It's a really good radio station. You'll get to hear. You'll get to phone in. You can ask questions. Paul Wright is a very, very good friend of mine. Paul, you're lovely. And he says, Doug Ponford, true life thinker and an intelligent inspiration to spirit. Bless you, Paul. That's such a nice, kind thing to say.
That is so lovely.
Honestly, I met Paul when he was 21. He was a young whippersnapper, and and here we are. He must be a little bit older now, and he's started to come on talking. I think he's still in Australia, and he said to me the other day, it's so inspiring listening to these shows that we do and all the interesting people that I have on, and it's really started his thought process going, and that's what I love. That's what we do it for, isn't it, Doug? Just the one thing that you could say that could change someone's way of thinking and put them on a different journey, a path journey.
If we can change somebody's thoughts and just change something in their life for the better, just a simple thing. Yeah. And it can start now, this moment.
Yes.
If somebody just takes some of the knowledge that we've been talking about this evening, pick up a journal, pick up a book call it a journal, just an empty book, and pick up a pen and start to write your thoughts, your feelings, your intentions. Halamuz, okay, from you're still in Turkey or in Bulgaria? I'm not sure which. I stayed in his flat in Istanbul some years ago, and he gave me his bed. He slept on the floor.
Oh, bless!
What a lovely man. Yes. Yes. So just a little bit of action by taking on board what we've spoken about this evening.
Yeah.
Take some of those ideas and run with them. And if somebody wants any more information, I'm open to giving it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Doug. Again, all details, contact details in the comments below. And it's been wonderful. Doug, I'm sure I'm going to have you back on. Everyone's been so, engaged and interactive this evening, which is, I just love that. And perhaps nearer the time of when you're launching and you've got your new website, perhaps you'd like to come back and share some more inspiration with us, because that would be lovely.
I'd love that. It's been interesting to see so many people come out tonight that I've not spoken to or heard their name for so long.
There you go.
Gosh,
isn't that lovely though? Isn't it lovely? You just do something, and again, do something a little bit different, and you get different reactions and different circumstances that you possibly couldn't have even imagined. And that in itself is another encouragement to take some of the advice that you've heard tonight, do something different, get different results, open up lots of new pathways that you couldn't even comprehend right now. Go and do them. That's the advice that I would give to you. I've kept you for so long, Doug. I'm going to speak to you soon. It's been amazing and joyful, and more than I could have imagined. You know where to find me. You know where to find Doug. We will see you next week.
Lots of love.
8 o'clock.
Lots of love to everybody.
Sunday 7, Monday 8. Oh, who's my next week's guest? Who is my next week's guest? Oh, I'll have to keep that as a surprise. Good night, Doug.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye, everybody on here. It's been great to see you all.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.